Stanisław Barszczak. Walnut tree grows in Brooklyn. Ending of Julia's diary. But good or badly, I'm angry. I am Catholic and I will never be anything else, of course. I did not ask to be born a Catholic any more than to be born an American, but I am glad it turned out that I am both. Julia walked over to the big window again in Miami downtown, from which she could see the East River 20 floors below. It was the last time she could see the river from this window. The last time has the power of death itself. What I see now, she thought, so as not to see this way anymore. Oh, last time you can see anything clearly, as if a magnifying light had been lit on it. And you are sad because you didn't hold him too tighter when you had him every day. What did Grandma Helen say? Always look at everything as if you were seeing it for the first or last time. This is your time on earth filled with glory. I never listen to what people tell me and I can't read. The only way I know what's right and wrong is the way I think about things. If I feel bad, it's ill. If I'm fine, that's I'm fine. I was once a child. I had to be sweet and clean, and my mother kissed my little pink fingers. Maybe when it thundered at night, she came over to my crib, adjusted my blanket, and whispered that I couldn't be afraid because she was right there. Then she picked me up, put her cheek on my head, and said she was her sweetest baby. A child could be a boy like my brother, running in and out of the house and slamming the door. And when his mother scolded him, Julia thought that maybe he would become president someday. He was then a young man, strong and happy. As he walked down the street, the girls smiled and turned to watch him. He smiled back and maybe winked at the prettiest one. My guess is that he must have married and have children, and they considered him the greatest papa in the world, just as he worked hard and bought them toys for Christmas. Now his children are also getting old like him. They have children and no one wants an old man anymore, and they wait for him to die. But he doesn't want to die. He wants to continue living, even though he is old and has nothing to be happy about anymore. It is good to know the truth for yourself. It's good to believe first with all your heart and then not to believe. Fingering emotions makes them stretch. When someone, life or people disappoint her, she will practice in disappointment and it will not be so difficult. Who wants to die? Everything is fighting for life. Look at this tree growing out of these trails. It doesn't get the sun and it gets water only when it rains. It grows out of acidic soil and it is strong because his hard fight for life makes him strong. That way my children will be strong, Julia said. Oh, someone should cut down this tree, this household thing. The midwife told her. If there was only one such tree in the world, but there are so many of them. Look at these children. She glanced at the midwife and pointed to the swarm of dirty children playing in the yard. You could take one of them, wash it well, dress it, and plant it in a beautiful house. And you would believe it's beautiful. Immediately after, she was surprised at how tiny this school seemed now. She was supposed to be as big as ever. Only her eyes grew used to seeing bigger things. Hence the situation. It was that simple, and here a flash of wonder that seemed to be pain pierced her head. Education. This was it. It was education that made the difference. Education would get these kids out of the grammar and dirt. There is what is not in the old country. Despite difficult, unknown things, here is hope. In the old country, a man can be nothing more than his father, provided he works hard. If his father was a carpenter, he might be a carpenter. Many are neither a teacher nor a priest. He can assent, but only to his father's condition. In the old country, man is devoted to the past. Here it belongs to the future. On this earth, he can be what he wants if he has a good heart and works honestly on the right things. What is the difference between happiness and contentment? Well, happiness is when someone gives you a big piece of something wonderful and they are too big to hold at once. So every now and then you take out the piece to hold in your hand. This is contentment. That's how I look at it anyway. She kept praying. She heard Papa sing so many songs about the heart, a heart that was breaking. It hurt, it danced, it was heavily burdened, it jumped with joy, it was heavy in sadness, it fell over, it stood still. She really believed that the heart actually did these things. No matter where his seed fell, it made a tree that struggled to reach heaven. It grew on boarded loads and neglected heaps of rubbish, and was the only tree to grow out of the cement. And it grows abundantly, but only in rental districts. Such was the tree. It liked poor people. But what? The tree in the yard, it's the tree that people cut down. It's the tree around which they lit a fire low, trying to burn its trunk. That tree was alive. It was alive, and nothing could destroy him. Everything fights for life. Julia, a child of Polish immigrants, was ambitious. She worked all day in the workshop, and in the evenings she went to school. Somehow she had been trained. She didn't want anyone to know she was from the slums. She has gained a degree in nursing and works in Brooklyn. Recently she told the doctor on duty, "I feel sorry for you, doctor. There is no excuse for these people living in fields. A person who pulls himself out of a low environment has two choices. Rising above the surroundings, he can forget about it, or she can rise above it and never forget it, and keep in her heart compassion and understanding for those she has left behind on the cruel climb." The nurse chose the way of being forgotten. However, standing there, she knew that years later she would be haunted by grief in the face of this hungry child from the background, and that she would bitterly regret that she had not said a comforting word then and had not done something to save her immortal soul. She knew she was small, but she lacked the courage to be otherwise. Since then, the world has become her challenge, and to be read anew. She will never be lonely again. She will never miss the lack of close friends. Books made friends with her, and there was one for every mood. There was poetry for a quiet company. There was an adventure when she got tired of silence. There will be love stories when she is mature, and when she wants to feel close to someone, she could read the biography. The day she first found out that she could not only read but that she could also write, she swore that she would read and write every day as long as she was alive. If I can remember every detail of that time, I can always skip this moment, she reminded. You went for a walk on Sunday afternoon and found yourself in a nice neighborhood, very elegant. You saw a little one of those trees through an iron gate leading into someone's backyard, and knew that this part of Brooklyn was about to become a rental district. The tree knew. It was the first. The tree knew up. Then poor foreigners crept in, and the quiet old sandstone houses were shredded into apartments. Feathered beds pushed onto the window sills, and the tree of heaven blossomed. It was a kind of tree that poor people liked. Julia, tired but also very happy this day, was sitting in the sun watching the street, keeping her own secret of life.